You may be able to retire earlier if you do this one simple trick. It's a simple trick. Stay to the end and you can watch the whole video. And don't forget to use my promo code Boyle and Brand or whatever. I'm so sick of promo codes. It drives. I get it. People gotta get paid. I get it. But man, I get so sick of it. All right. Anyway, have you looked at your portfolio? Because I just looked at this today, as a matter of fact. Check this out. Here's VTI. That's a Vanguard Total Market Index. It's up 26.71% year to date. 26.71% year to date. If you started in 1 January with $10,000, it's now worth $12,671. All right, now I own this. It's my biggest holding, so you probably should short it, knowing that I own it, because anything I touch turns to what? Finney's puke. Finney took a big puke last night. Apparently, you know what a stink bug is? Apparently, if a dog licks a stink bug, it gives them secretes some kind of aura that makes a dog puke all over the place. And he took this big old puke right there by the back door. The thing was the size of the poop from a triceratops. Remember in that movie Jurassic Park? The triceratops pooped. It was like the size of this. That was Finney's puke. It was everywhere. Oh, poor baby. So I had to pick that up. It was fantastic. And then, of course, I had to fight Pablo off from trying to lick it up himself. I was like, Pablo, get out of here. Anyway, so if you buy anything I touch turns to Finney's puke, just FYI. So I own this, just full disclosure. But anyway, all right, so what we're going to do here is we got year-to-date return, 26%. We're going to go over here to Diane Sample, all right? We got Diane Sample here, and we're running, so Diane Sample is 60 years old. She's going to live until she's 90, and she's really hoping that she can retire at the end of this year. Our goals are to retire right there this is her last month. She wants to give her 2 weeks. She wants to give her 2 weeks in right now. And she's single, by the way. And she's saying, man, I'd love to get my 2 weeks, but I need $55,000 a year to live on. And I'm going to adjust that for inflation. $55,000 a year. So $55,000 divided by her IRA, that's $1 million. That's a 5.5% distribution amount. 5.5%. All right. So we're like, whew, that's going to be tough. And so if you look at what her current portfolio consists of, all in VTI, you can see she's got a 6% expected rate of return. That's her average expected rate of return with a 16% standard deviation. All right, so just let me reiterate what that means again. You got your bell curve there, and you say this is our 6% expected rate of return. That's our average expected rate of return, but we don't expect to get that every year. There's going to be volatility around this. If we have a 16 standard deviation, our volatility around the average, we'd expect on any given year, within 3 standard deviations, that means 99.8 or 99.6. I can't remember. Either way, with a more than 99% likelihood, given that standard deviation, the volatility around the average, we'd expect our portfolio to give us a no less than a 42% downturn and no more than a 54% upturn. All right, now 42% of the down is really what we're worried about. But remember, there is significant upside in the volatility as well. Standard deviations, it comes both ways. It can give you great returns and it can give you horrible returns. But given my projections here with a 16% standard deviation and a 6% expected rate of return, you could potentially have a worse market than we had in even 2008 when you factor in inflation. That's the worst market we've ever had, all right, by far. 2008 was. I'm saying you could do worse than that. Now, you could also get a 54% on the upside. We've had markets that have done better than that. 1933, I think. I can't remember. But anyway, we've had markets that have done better. So the markets are inherently positively biased. That means you get more wins than losses. If they weren't inherently positively biased, no one would invest. You have to have it positively biased or else no one invests, or else it'd just be gambling. Gambling is when markets are inherently negatively biased. You lose more than you win. The house wins more than they lose, or else they wouldn't be in existence. It's just that simple. That's gambling. Investing is an inherently positively biased return. I expect to make more. All right, now that doesn't mean you will, but you expect it. All right, so this is what we're dealing with. We're saying, okay, Diane Sample, you want $1 million, you got $1 million bucks. We're going to take $55,000 a year. We're going to adjust that amount for a 3% inflation each and every year, and I just use 3% in this sample. All right, so 55,000 today would be 55,000 times 1.03 the following year times 1.03 the following year. Inflation does compound, unlike Sniffy Joe would tell you different. Anyway, so what's happening here? What's the likelihood she can retire and the money will last for 30 years? And we're going to come here to retirement with that scenario. And we're going to look and we're going to say a 75% probability of success. Sorry, excuse me, I had a couple things wrong. It's a 59% probability of success. Most likely, she'll have money when she dies. Her median liquid net worth will be $133,000 at her demise. That's still it doesn't make me very comfortable. 41% of the time she runs out of money, 59% of the time she has money, and her median amount of money, 50% of the time she has more, 50% of the time she has less, is $133,000. And you can see right here, it starts getting dicey right there when 84 years old. 24 years from now, she's 84 years old. Where more than 25% of the time she starts running out of money. And that doesn't make me very comfortable, frankly. Now, I'm using the assumption that her expenses go up each and every year with inflation, and there's no evidence this will happen. So, again, we're coming at it pretty negatively. 54,000, 56, 58, 60. So, not likely to happen, but still, I mean, that's what the model we're using, that your expenses adjust each and every year with a base rate of inflation. So if we change that strategy, what if we don't use a base? What if we say your expenses will go up each and every year with inflation until you're 75, then they'll drop by 10%, then they'll go back up each and every year with inflation until you're 85, then they'll drop by 10%. And if we change that over, you can see, I would call it retirement spending stages. And those of you guys who are clients, you have access to do all this what I'm doing here, by the way. Then it increases to 75%. It's more feasible. I like that. I don't have any problem with that, frankly. I'd say, we're probably pretty good there. But, and the reason we use retirement spending stages is because all the evidence shows that most people do not spend on a trajectory like that, where your expenditures go up in each every year. All right, be that as it may. So we say, okay, but let's just go back to inflation adjusted just to satisfy the old school financial planners. We got, just look at the price of gas. That shows the inflation. I'm like, oh, so dumb. But what happened this last year? Diane, we started this scenario with old Diane with her $1 million. She doesn't have $1 million anymore. She has 1.27 million now. 127 million, because she's up 27% year to date. So now she still needs 55,000 a year, but 55,000 a year on 1.27 million is not a 5.5% distribution amount. It's only 4.3. So what happens now? Watch this. It goes from 59% to what? I don't know. It's going to go higher. Oh, she's back at 75%, even with an inflation adjusted amount. She's increased her probability of success in the retirement by 27%, even when you factor in we're using, which is silly, but we're going to use it for the time being, an inflation adjustment each and every year expenditures. And it's just not going to happen. Even with those massive standard deviation risk on the downside, they haven't changed. But it just means what happened is we have 270,000 more as a start point. So before she's down here, if she lost 42% on the first year, she'd be down to $580,000. Now at 1.27, if she loses 42%, she'd be down to $736,000. She has $150,000 more leeway on the downside of her standard deviation because she has gained that $2.7 or $270,000. Now watch this. If we don't even look at inflation adjustment, we just go back to retirement spending stages. Remember, it went from 59 to 75 before. Now what's it going to go to? I don't know. 89%. 85 is a sweet spot, by the way. So now just with that one change, well, two basically, she's increased her portfolio, which means she can withstand that 27% or the 42% downturn is still in the mix. It's still baked in the pudding, but it's baked in the pudding from a higher amount. She's no longer taking a distribution amount of 5.5. She's taking a distribution amount of 4.3. And when you factor in the evidence that says most people don't spend each and every year with adjusted with inflation, they just start going down. She's at 89%. What did I say, 89? Yeah, she went from 59 to 89. That is an increase in, divided by 67.8%, increased her probability of success by 68%. And she didn't do anything other than just sit idly by. Now, what happens? Watch this. Let's make her portfolio a little bit less aggressive. We're going to say, man, we don't want you to invest like that throughout your retirement in that crazy, very risk-heavy portfolio. Let's put you in a 50-50, 89 to 100%. We've decreased the risk. Watch. The only thing you don't have access to is changing this target allocation. I don't know why, but they don't give you access to that. She, 1 second. So she decreased her probability from 6 to 5. You know, that's a 1 divided by 6. That's a 17% reduction in expected rate of return. But she decreased her volatility. That's both on the up and the down, by the way, from 16 to 8 to basically 9. So a 9% volatility around a 5% expected rate of return means instead of being down 42% on any year right here, she'd be down 22%. So basically reduced her downside risk by half. And essentially, I can't say guaranteed her portfolio to last. We can't guarantee that. But basically on these parameters we're assuming, she's looking great. This is where you take the gains off the table, you downsize your risk, you shift from fifth, in this case, to third gear. And we're only giving her 5% expected rate of return with an 8.8% standard deviation. And if we actually look, check this out, at Wellesley Fund, for instance, Wellesley Fund averaged 9.55%. We're basically giving her half of that with an 8.8% standard deviation, which is what I'm using here in Wright Capital. 8.8% standard deviation with only 5% assumed rate of return. Dude, don't look a gift horse in the mouth, dude. Look, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just some freaking clown on YouTube. I haven't shaved. I did brush my pearly yellows. Give me a thumbs up for my pearly yellows. Say thumbs up to the pearly yellows. And I have my my shirt here, JD Pincus. All right. Look, he's got. Speaking of pearly yellows, look at that guy. I was gonna take Chloe to a show next week. The Atomic Bitch Wax is playing down at the Earl in Atlanta, but it's on a Wednesday. I thought it was on Wednesday before Thanksgiving. It's not, so I'm not driving down there on a Wednesday. She's got school. I got to work. But, man, it would be fun to see the Atomic Bitch Wax. It's not B-I-T-C-H. It's B-I-C-H Wax. Great band. You should check them out. It's like old school hippie music, except with a little bit of ting of modern metal. Oh, fantastic. Hippie music meets modern metal. You can't go wrong, dude. And I'd say hippie music, not like the Mamas and the Papas. I mean hippie music like, good rock and roll, heavy rock and roll, Blue Cheer and things of that nature. Fantastic. Black Sabbath, obviously. It's fantastic. Anyway, that's the change you can do, my friends. Have you done it? And why haven't you just adjusted it? Now's the time. Now's the time. All right. Love your thoughts. God bless. And use my promo use my promo code Boll and Branch for 50% off. I'm joking. There's no promo code. No promo code. We'll see you.